Oh, did you turn your volume down?
Wait, hold on. Hello.
Hi.
Sorry, as usual, we're trying to figure out what we're doing.
Isn't it?
There we go.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're a little late from the time that we said, and it's totally my fault. So it's not the one we scheduled earlier. So hopefully you can still see what we're up to. And it's not showing me on the Facebook page that we're live. So there we go. Okay. We have before done a live that was not actually live. So I'm always paranoid about that. Okay, let me get this open.
Live and learn.
Okay. So we've been doing lots of back to school lives talking about
that time of the year.
Yeah, like what we do to get ready and what the first couple of days look like. And now we're going to talk about what the rest of the week looks like. So we've already talked about how effective teachers have a script for the very first day of school. And we did a whole Facebook Live about that.
Oh, there it is.
But here's a little peek at kind of what our script looks like. And you can download this for free on our blog. If you go back...
I was going to say, I legitimately type out the first day in that kind of detail.
Like a script, basically, because it just makes it go so much smoother. And you can download this free script on our blog, and you can go back and look at a previous Facebook Live that we did where we talked about all about the first day. We taught second grade, so it's specifically about second grade. But I think a lot of it's adaptable to other grades. And also, we also have in that post some things to help you figure out what you want to do on your first day of school, which might be different than what we have in our script. So we've kind of got this little plan for you and kind of a bunch of checklists that you can go through to think about all the different parts of your day and what you need to consider to make that part of your day as successful
and
as it can be.
And what the kids have to be able to do to be efficient at that time.
So we give you some ideas of some things to think about, and then we give you a checklist where you can evaluate. Is this where I want it to be? Even if you've taught before, like, does that work really well for me, or do I want to improve that, and how can I improve
Where's
it?
the breakdown?
Right,
so
all
that's 16 different times a day.
Yes,
so
lots to go through. And that's free on our blog. So if you just look for secondstorywindow.net, and it's the first day of school in second grade. And then on the second day of school, we do a whole big second day of second grade celebration. And we did another Facebook Live about that. And we have another blog post about that. But that's sort of what the first 2 days look like for us. But some of what we're going to talk about takes place on the second day too. So let's get into that. The first thing to consider is what your goals are.
So this first few days of school are so critical to really setting up your whole year for success. And so it's important. What you choose to do is less important than the goals you have for the choices that you make.
Right.
So when I sat down to really think about my goals for the first of the year, I came up with 4 areas I wanted to make sure and cover. And then I came up with an acronym. It's not the catchiest, but there's only so much you can do with those letters. So, I call it Attaboy. So it stands for Assessing, Training, Teaching, and Affirming at the Beginning of the Year. And so those are the 4 areas that really need the most attention as you're starting off this year.
Right. So,
and what you choose to do will kind of depend on those goals. So, with affirming, you want the kids to feel safe, welcome, included. You want to start building that classroom community. With training, you're working on all those routines and procedures and rules, getting them settled into how things work in your classroom and all of the work that goes along with that.
Oh, yes. So much work at the beginning of the year, but it's worth it.
So, and of course, this is what we're all itching to get to, starting to teach, getting those first few lessons underway, getting them reviewed on, the previous year's material for second grade. That'd be first grade, obviously. And then you're going to want to start your assessing, figuring out who's where, how to group for effective interventions, and getting all of that up and running. It's all about getting it up and running.
Right.
And if you are looking to plan your back to school time, we have this goal sheet here.
Because our goals in these areas might be different than yours. So we have in our most recent blog post about the whole first week of school, we have this, right there, you can see it in the picture, this little goal sheet that you can print out to help you think about those different areas and what your personal goals are for this back to school time, because they might be different than what we list out in that blog post and what we just talked about.
And there's so many fun and cute activities out there, and the activities you choose aren't as important. Like, you can cover a lot of goals with a broad range of activities, but the important thing is the reason that you're choosing those activities. So it's important to be mindful and making the best choices about this limited time you have to make such a good, fresh start in the year.
So, and I forgot to mention, if you're watching, leave a comment. Anyone who watches, leave a comment, and we're going to give away a $25 gift card to Teachers Pay Teachers to help you get set for back to school. So, let's get started with one of the things you get to in that first week of school, which is the morning routine.
So I actually start teaching the morning routine the afternoon of the first day, because I want them to be independent at that as soon as possible. So I teach everybody what to do when they're all together. And then, of course, I station myself by the door for the first few days to kind of remind and
what
support.
They need to do when they get there.
And really, honestly, you can't, your morning is just so important. And we start with, the kids do their attendance and lunch. Then at my school, they could play or go eat breakfast or read. And then when the bell rang, we'd start our morning work, which...
Yeah, sorry. I put this in a different order than you talked about going through it, so let's go back. There we go. So this is first, second, and third grade.
So they work on their little page, and it takes probably at least a full week of us doing it as a whole class, but definitely by the end of the second week, they're pretty independent at that.
Right.
So I can do attendance and lunch and answer parent notes and all of that good stuff.
So the importance of a predictable, efficient morning routine cannot be overstated. In fact, we're going to do a whole other post and Facebook Live just about efficient mornings. But suffice it to say, that's what we get started.
Right. Year. And then we transition to morning meeting, which I love. This is from the morning meeting book.
Here, hand me the slides. Because I can't remember, so I'm turning at the wrong times.
Yes, did you show? Yes, I don't know if I can. There we go. You love that book. This was the first book I bought as a teacher, actually. And it's still one of my very favorites.
And she made sure I had it for my very first year of teaching, and I really did reference it all the time, always, but especially right away at that first year.
It's such just a peaceful transition into the day, helping everyone feel included and part of the class. We go through kind of building the 4 different components of morning meeting, adding on slowly through the first few weeks of school.
This is a picture from Responsive Classroom of a morning meeting.
And then we end with, this isn't in morning meeting, but we always end with some closed eyes, deep breathing for 20, 30 seconds, just because it helps just get everyone calm and focused and ready to start the day.
Right. And the reason that morning meeting is so important
is it just is such a good transition from, I think everyone's morning is chaotic regardless of where you're from or what you're doing. So this is just a good transition to get your mind past all of the craziness of the morning and ready to focus on the academic part of your day.
Mm-hmm. And it helps you develop that classroom community that's so important. Morning meeting is vital to that.
Yeah. So then I start introducing, this kind of roughly goes in order of how my day went, but because I love to teach math in the morning.
Spoiler alert, not everybody's on board with that, but math in the morning works really great for Heidi.
Where it's at. If you can switch to math in the morning, I highly recommend it. Anyway, so I put stations around the room with different manipulatives in each station, and they rotate through them for the first couple days. And the reason why is because math should be hands-on. So we use lots of different tools, Unifix cubes, pattern blocks, geoboards, all of that fun stuff. Counters, those little bear counters.
Yes, the bear counters.
And I kind of have to scrounge up to get enough manipulatives sometimes to stock enough stations, because I don't want groups much bigger than 3 of kids, because otherwise they start to cause problems.
Right.
But then they just rotate through for the first couple of days, and we talk about being responsible and respectful with the math tools. And hopefully this kind of gets some of that play out, so that down the line when we're using our base 10 blocks for, math, they are less excited. They're not going to be, worried about building a cabin, because they've already done that. And then, Writer's Workshop, I think this probably is one of those things that has more routines around it than almost any other part of your day. So it's important to start those early on. We kind of start with generating ideas for what you can write about. That takes
Yes,
a little
and that's
while.
also a good thing for the beginning of the school year because you're getting to know each other. So when they're generating those ideas of what they might write about, they're sharing a little bit about
It
themselves.
fits right in. And
Right.
Because I don't do prompt-based writing for Writers Workshop because I want to mentor them as authors, and so I try to keep it authentic. So I'm trying to give them the skills these little babies need to be able to actually produce a written piece.
Right.
So yeah, I want them to have ownership over their work and see themselves as authors.
Yeah, and learn how to be independent and successful, engaged
Which
writers.
is really hard.
It is hard. Writers Workshop's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's some teachers who it's probably not hard. They just have a gift for it, but we both found it hard.
I'm so excited to teach it, and it's every year's a struggle. So for the first couple days, my school had morning recess for the primary grades, and so the first couple days I would always take my kids out for our own little private recess, and I did that because I want to head off as many playground problems as I can. There's nothing worse than wasting your time trying to solve playground problems.
Right.
So the more I can head those off before they have a chance to become a problem, the better.
It's
everyone is.
preventative, you know.
So I start, we just focus on the playground and the rules, and then the second day I introduce equipment and
Yeah.
all of
I think
fun
that's so
stuff.
smart to just head that off. Hi, Jivey.
And then, if you've seen our other posts, we've talked a lot about guided
We've talked
discovery.
a lot about guided discovery. Where's the book?
Oh,
Where's
yes.
the book? The Bible. In fact, we are giving away a copy of this. If you go back on our guided discovery video that we did, you can enter to win a copy of this from the Responsive Classroom because we can't shut up about it.
Yeah.
So
It'll get you through those rough few weeks.
yes.
And we take school material and honestly teach a whole lesson about how to use it. And so the first couple weeks I'm doing at least one or two of those every day,
Right.
just with the different tools that we use. And again, we're preventing as many problems as we can before they have a chance to become a problem. Let's just save our time and energy.
And
for
this
what's
is the
important.
quote that we say over and over and over at back to school time, that the teachers with the best run classrooms spend most of the first 2 weeks teaching procedures and routines. Do it right or do it all year long. Fred Jones. He knows what he's
Love
talking
that
about.
man.
It's so true.
I'd be his groupie.
We are. Yeah, we're totally Fred Jones groupies.
So lunch is another time of day that just has a ton of procedures because, the lunchroom has to feed, 800 kids in 40 minutes. So there's just a lot, and they have to be able to do this and do it a lot of times without me there. So the first week and a half, honestly, we practice lunch procedures every day, and I hate it.
Yeah, they hate it.
And I don't care.
Because part of this is self-preservation,
Yes.
right? You do not want to have to be getting hauled out of the teacher's lounge to go deal with your children.
Because someone forgot their lunch and the door's locked.
Right.
Or, they can't remember their number and the worker at the computer's frustrated with you because she's always having to look up this number. You're like,
Right.
It's not my fault.
Yes,
It's not
the
my
lunch
fault.
people will thank you, and you will thank yourself when you don't have to be dealing with lunch stuff all year long.
We also this is another responsive classroom thing, our hopes and dreams. And we spend a few days talking about this, charting them as a class, coming up with pictures, and then we use that discussion to start to create our class rules. Again, I want my classroom to be as child-centered. I want to give them as much ownership as I can. So we work on developing our class rules together. They don't know this, but it's almost always we generate our rules and come down to we group all these ideas about keep our hands to ourselves and only use crayons on paper and things like that, to things like be responsible, be respectful,
Right.
be a friend. That's pretty much
always the three.
somehow
class
those
rules.
are the three groups that they always end up.
Tricky that way. This is another
developing.
picture from Responsive Classroom. They are the go-to for your back-to-school setup stuff.
Yeah, really.
And the reason that we spend the time doing this hopes and dreams, and also if you look on Pinterest, there's tons of ideas for doing your hopes and dreams, is because we want to create that welcoming, student-centered environment in our classroom. And you want to start that right away.
So this is our affirming goal here, meeting that.
Hi, Vicky.
Reading time is so important, and it's really one of my favorite times of day, just when everybody's just a little busy with their books. And I love, at the beginning of the year, I would always forget how noisy second graders are as readers, because there's still so many that are reading out loud to themselves. And so I would start from, well, the second day we're kind of doing second day of second grade stuff. So usually about the third day. And everyone's book bins. I actually had cubbies in my classroom.
Me too. It was so nice to use cubbies if you don't have, if you have them, but you can do book bins.
I use that instead of putting papers in there. So I put, 6, 7, 8 picture books in everyone's cubby. And regardless of level, they just took those books. And at first, we're just working on building stamina. So if you know the Daily 5 book, they outline this so well. It was like angels were singing this, and it's like, this is the thing I've been looking for about how to build that stamina and making kids accountable for what they're doing. We graph it, all of that good stuff, and then slowly they're getting a chance to choose their own books.
Right.
And I like to use this time, that reading time is so important, so they're reading books near their independent level. It's not always an exact matchup.
Right.
But, I don't want my, little one who's barely reading to try and be plowing through a Magic Treehouse book
for the whole time. Yeah, we want it to be one of those successful interactions with text that you sometimes hear us talk about. That helps ensure that.
And kids should have choice of books. So I do so everyone has free choice of books at other times of the day, but that time of day is really targeted.
And after this first week, they'll get to make an appointment with us, with the teacher, to go to the library and pick out their books with some guidelines in mind. But for this first week, we just provide the books for them. So they will build to that choice of what they read.
Slowly introducing the procedures and everything. And I do actually those procedures one-on-one, because it depends on the child and where they're reading and where they're going to be. Of course, I can't do any of that till my assessment.
Yeah, you don't know them at the beginning of the first week to know well enough. But the goal is to build that reading stamina to 30 to 40 minutes. And I know that sounds crazy for second grade, but it's totally possible. We've both experienced it in our classroom. If you build them to that, they can do it. And it is so important. Yeah, it's so important. And they might not be reading at all at home. So giving them this is almost a gift, really. And I mean, the studies show that reading is the best way to help students read. So if you want to increase their reading levels, give them time to read. Don't let anybody try and tell you that that's a bad use of your time.
So as I mentioned earlier, we only have morning recess for the primary grades at my school. So, but those first few days, they're not used to being back in class for so long. So I've tried to provide some outside play time. And this is a time that was always more structured, where I would teach a game to the whole class. And the reason for this is that there are two main causes of recess problems: boredom and then disagreement about rules.
Would you agree with that? I bet you would if you've been on recess duty. Those are the two biggest problems at recess.
So by teaching them these games, I'm eliminating both of those problems, because they know what to do. They have a choice of something to do, and they all know how to play.
Yeah, so that's the bonus of teaching it to them, is then they all agree on the rules because you told them what the rules are.
And some years our whole grade level would pick for 3 or 4 games that we would teach our whole grade level, and then the other grade levels would pick different games, so that when all these kids are playing together, they can teach each other these games and have a whole slew to choose from.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of being boys bored, chase girls or girls chase boys, which is always.
And when they're bored is when trouble starts. So it gives them a resource of what to decide to play. And then everybody, no matter the grade level, agrees on the rules. And I didn't do this at my school, so I think it's a great idea. I can totally see how beneficial it would be.
I also take the time, this is usually later in the week or possibly the second week, assuming we don't have a fire drill scheduled that first week.
Well, that's mean.
Yeah. Sometimes I like to get it in before the kindergartners arrive, because our kindergartners start coming the second week, just because that's way too much for them to handle. So I try and get this in. Just because at my school and I'm assuming most schools.
I'm sure most schools.
There are set fire drill and assembly procedures, and the day of is just too late to practice.
You don't want to be teaching them the fire drill procedure during the fire drill. So that's chaos. Or when you're late to get your class done to the assembly.
So we always walk through that, especially if they have to carry chairs to the assembly.
Oh my gosh, the worst! I hate when they have to take their chairs to the assembly.
Yeah.
Sit on the floor.
So I always make sure and walk through those.
Oh, sorry, I didn't click through any of those. Okay.
And then, my goal with all of this is to get them into the daily routine as quickly as possible without sacrificing the learning time necessary to master our procedures and routines. I don't want the routine to come at the
Yeah, you don't want to jump into the
expense
routine on day 2, even though they're not
independence.
ready
Yeah.
for it. So you have to build it.
So
But-
I start building that with all the little bits and pieces. So, one of the things we do every week is chunk spelling. So I'll start introducing that whole class. We do word sorts the first week or 2. Everybody does the same sort.
Yeah,
So we
simple
can talk
sort. So it's
through
more
it.
about learning
Yeah.
the routine of word sorting than about the actual content.
And so we're slowly kind of building into that routine every day.
Yeah.
And just like we showed you that first day script that was like 6 pages long.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just 5 pages. I do that for the first week. I have it all typed up so I know exactly what I need to do. Because you forget without that routine to rely on like, oh, this is what I'm doing next.
Right.
You forget important things. So
Right.
I'm always trying to cover that.
Hi, Alicia.
With content areas, I alternate units between science and social studies. And the first of the year, I just focus on social studies. And in my class, that would look like things like lessons on sharing, friendship, how to join in when others are involved in activity.
That's a really good one that a lot of kids need
How
help
to
with.
be a good listener, how to share, all of those things. And it might not seem like you're covering your social studies curriculum, but those are like the most vital parts of being a good citizen, and that's the whole point of social studies.
Right.
So I use that social studies time for probably a good first month just to address those social issues in our classroom.
Right. And then
And
last of
yay,
all,
ending the day. I like to end with read aloud, and I don't know if I've ever found another teacher that did it at the end of the day.
Well, I did, but that's
Okay.
because you mentored me, so I did whatever Heidi did. So I did do this at the end of the day.
And so the kids that have jobs, because not every kid had a job, so, the ones that are sharpening pencils and the ones taking the attendance chart down and cleaning the board and passing out papers, whatever. So they're doing that while the rest of the kids are back at their rug, and I'm reading aloud. So even the kids who are doing their jobs are listening.
Yeah, they can hear.
And I'm reading aloud from whatever chapter book we're doing. I always like to start with Freckle Juice by Judy Bloom. And then I do Jeannie B. Jones.
Yes. Two great ones.
It doesn't feel like back to
year.
school without Jeannie B.
No.
And
if you comment and say you don't like Junie B. Jones, we're breaking up with you because we feel strongly about Junie B.
So I read the story. It's just such a nice, peaceful way to end the day.
It really is.
And then Responsive Classroom, if you do morning meeting, they also recommend doing a closing circle. You could do one or the other.
When I was getting this presentation ready, I forgot that I used to do that, and it was it was such a good memory of like what a wonderful way it was to end the week.
And they do closing circle every day, and I just found that I couldn't keep up with that. So an important rule of teaching, of course, do what
works for you.
Yep. So I just stuck it on at the end of the week. So we have closing circle on Friday in place of read aloud. And it was just such a sweet way to end the week.
Special.
So the kids go around one by one and they each get to share either something they're proud of or something they liked from the week. And it takes some work to get them to
It does, but then when they're
right?
good at it, it's so nice to hear what they're proud of in the week. Because sometimes it's something I didn't notice, or that it was a real small thing that I wouldn't have thought that they would be proud of. But then it feels nice to acknowledge that with them, that they accomplished something.
It was a success this week.
Right.
And then I have them make a wish. So they take their cup little hand and whisper their little wish in, and they hold it. And at the end, we say, like 1, 2, 3, and they let it go, and so it floats up to the ceiling, and it's waiting for us there on Monday. And we do our little class cheer, and then they get their backpacks and get ready to go home.
It's such a good way to end the week. I forgot how nice it is.
Happy.
Yeah, and you're sending them on their way with that memory of them thinking about what they did well this week and their hope of what they want for next week. I just think it's such a lovely way to end the week.
So all that is trying to get, jam-packed in those first few days of school.
Right.
Oh, it's not exhausting at all.
No. I know. Tired just doing all these Facebook Lives about the beginning of week of school without having just taught it ourselves. It's exhausting. But hopefully all of these posts that we've written will be a good resource for you, and you can go back and watch the Facebook Lives. And we'll be back again with some more soon. I think the next one we're planning is all about that morning routine, because there's just so much to talk about. It would have taken even longer than this 25-minute Facebook Live took. But leave a comment. So you can be entered to win a $25 Teachers Pay Teachers gift card. And if you're watching this before, I don't remember when it ends, Friday, go and enter the giveaway for the first 6 weeks of school.
Yes.
It's on a previous Facebook Live.
Because you want that book.
It's so
you really want that book.
good. You really want this book. And if you don't win, buy it.
Yeah,
It's worth it. It's worth every penny. And a morning meeting book.
Those are one of the few that I reference every year.
Every year. Yeah. Anyway, it was so fun to
Thanks
talk to
so
you guys.
much for
Have a
joining
good
us.
night.
Good
We'll
luck
see
getting
you
ready to go back to
later.
school.
Bye.
Bye.